Welcome to Talk English to Me, the podcast that helps you boost your English while exploring real-life topics.
I'm Santa.
And I'm Gautier, and today we're excited to bring you episode 2 of our series, Talk English to Me Conversation.
Our theme for today? Business. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a professional, or just curious, we'll walk you through useful vocabulary, common expressions, and everyday business situations, all in English.
So get comfortable, grab a notebook if you want to take notes, and let's dive into Business One Talk English to Me Conversation, episode 2.
Okay, so welcome to another deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
This time, we're diving into something a little different.
Yeah, it's targeted toward folks who are learning English as a second language.
Yeah, English is a second language, and specifically for business.
Yeah, so business English.
And the material that we're looking at, it's a transcript of a sales meeting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and what I thought it was interesting because I was curious to see like how they would teach that,
Right.
because it's a very specific type of English, I would imagine.
It is, yeah. I mean, every industry has kind of its own little subculture of language and jargon that they use.
Right, and also even just the interaction of like, the power dynamics and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're going to look at that today. We're going to try to unpack it. We're going to look at some of the language that they use.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in here just in terms of like common phrases that we use when we're talking about sales and strategy, and also the dynamic, like you said, that really stood out to me too. Like the way these people are interacting with each other is very interesting.
Yeah, so that's our mission today.
Right.
So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
So the scene is there's a manager and there's a couple of employees. I think there's Roger and Natalie.
That's right.
And the manager's like, listen, we've got to do something about our sales and we need to do it now.
That's urgent.
Yeah, it's urgent. And he's like, so I need some concrete solutions.
Okay, yeah, so none of this like blue sky thinking.
Yeah.
We need some actual stuff we can implement right now to fix this problem.
Exactly. And it seems like they're in a bit of a panic,
It does, yeah. And that kind of pressure cooker environment, sometimes it leads to interesting dynamics. Let's see how this unfolds.
Yeah, so Roger's the first one to speak. And he says, well, I think we need to lower our prices.
Okay, makes sense.
To match the competitors.
All right.
Because, we are the most expensive in the market.
Sure.
Right?
Okay, cool.
So it makes sense, right? If you're too expensive.
Yeah.
People are going to go with the cheaper option if all things are equal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the same product or service and yours is more expensive, then people are going to go with the cheaper one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's often a necessary strategy if you're finding that that's the reason you're losing customers.
Right. But the manager's like not very creative.
Oh.
It'll never fly with Swan.
Oh, so there's a higher up.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of thinking is that? Jeez.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not exactly encouraging, is it?
No.
I mean, it's one thing to say, I don't think that's the best idea, but to shut it down so abruptly and with such negativity.
Yeah. And almost with like a personal attack,
It feels personal. Yeah. Like, what kind of thinking is that?
Right.
Geez, like it's attacking Roger's intelligence almost.
Exactly. Yeah. So Natalie's probably like, ah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to speak up after that.
Yeah. She's like, well, maybe we could do a promotion, like a 2-for-1 offer or something like that.
Okay. So another classic sales tactic.
Yeah.
Trying to add value.
Right.
To incentivize customers.
Right. So instead of lowering the price, you're giving them more for the same price.
Exactly. You make them feel like they're getting a deal.
Right.
Which always appeals to people.
But the manager's like, what? That's the same thing. Bad idea. Really bad idea. Damn it, people. Come on, think.
So even worse than the first reaction.
I know. It's like, what is going on?
This manager's got some issues.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe under a lot of pressure, but definitely doesn't seem like a very effective way to manage a team.
No, it doesn't. And also, you have to wonder, like, what's going on with this Swan guy?
Yeah, why is everyone so afraid of him?
I know, right?
Is he like some kind of tyrant?
Yeah. So, just then,
That's good.
Swan walks in.
Oh, boy.
And the manager is immediately like, hello, Mr. Swan. Oh, Mr. Swan. Hello, Mr. Swan.
Oh, so the complete change in demeanor.
I know, he's like totally sucking up to him. Yeah, from yelling at his employees to fawning over the CEO.
Yeah, and Swan is just like, so do we have any ideas yet?
I'm getting right to it.
Yeah, no time for chit-chat.
Nope.
And so the manager is like, well, we are kind of considering a 2-for-1 promotion.
Wait a minute. Wasn't that Natalie's idea?
Yeah, it was.
And he just shot her down?
I know.
And now he's presenting it as his own.
Or at least as something that they were all considering.
Wow. I know.
That's just wrong on so many levels.
It is so unethical.
Not to mention just demoralizing for the team. You know, you have these people coming up with ideas and he shoots them down, and then he takes one of their ideas and presents it as his own to the CEO.
Right. It's like textbook bad management.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you wonder how often this kind of thing happens, you know, in workplaces where there's a big power imbalance.
Right.
People are afraid to speak up, and then their ideas get stolen by their superiors.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dynamic.
It is.
So Swan is like, I kind of like the sound of that. It sounds like something we should consider. So suddenly it's a good idea.
Right. When Swan says it, it's a good idea.
Exactly. And this is what's so fascinating about this whole scenario. It's not really about the ideas themselves. It's about who's presenting them and how they're being received.
Yeah, and how they're being framed.
Right. The framing is everything.
Yeah, and so the manager immediately jumps on board and he's like, yeah, exactly. That's just what I was thinking. In fact, it's a brilliant idea. I'm glad we thought of that. Very creative.
Come on.
So cringy.
It is. It's like he's trying to rewrite history.
Yeah.
Like he was the one who came up with the idea all along.
And Natalie's just sitting there like,
Probably fuming.
yeah.
I would be.
So anyway, that's the end of the scene, but it's just this really interesting snapshot of like,
Office dynamics.
yeah, exactly. And the language that they use is interesting too.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about some of that vocabulary.
Yeah, so the first one that they highlight is drive sales,
Right.
which is a very common phrase in business.
It is. Yeah. And it simply means to increase sales.
Yeah.
To sell more. It's about taking action
Yeah.
to boost your sales figures.
It's not just waiting for sales to happen.
Right. It's about being proactive.
Yeah.
Implementing strategies and tactics.
To make the sales happen.
Exactly.
Right. So then they talk about promotion.
Okay.
Now, obviously, promotion can mean like getting a promotion at work.
Right. Moving up the ladder.
Right. But in this context, it's about marketing and sales promotions.
Yeah. Things like discounts,
Yeah.
special offers.
2-for-1 deals.
Exactly. Buy one, get one free.
Right. And they give a really clear example with shampoo.
Yeah. I like that example. It's very relatable.
Yeah. So they say, imagine a bottle of shampoo that normally costs $5,
Right.
but for a limited time, it's on sale for $4.
Buy one, get one free.
Exactly.
So you're essentially getting two for the price of one.
Right. And that's a promotion.
Yeah. A classic sales promotion.
Exactly.
It's a way to attract customers.
By making them feel like they're getting a good deal.
Exactly. And it often works.
Yeah.
People love a bargain.
Okay. So the next phrase is match the competitors.
Ah, yes. This is a crucial one in business.
It is. Yeah. And it basically means to be as good as or better than other companies in the same industry.
Right. You don't want to be left behind.
No.
You need to stay competitive.
Yeah. And it can apply to all sorts of things like price.
Of course, price is a big one.
Yeah. If your competitors are all offering lower prices, you need to at least match them.
Otherwise, you'll lose customers.
Exactly. But it can also apply to things like quality,
Absolutely.
customer
Service.
delivery options.
Anything that customers care about,
Right. You need to make sure you're at least on par with your competitors.
if not better.
Yeah. And the video gives a good example of like a price matching guarantee.
Oh, yeah. That's a common one.
Yeah. Like if you find a lower price at a competitor, we'll match it.
Shows that you're serious about being competitive.
Exactly. And it also acknowledges that sometimes it's difficult to match competitors on price.
Right. Maybe because your costs are higher.
Yeah. Or because you're offering a premium product or service.
Right. So you have to find other ways to compete.
Exactly.
Maybe through quality or customer service or something else that sets you apart.
Right.
But the point is, you can't ignore your competitors.
No.
You have to be aware of what they're doing.
And be prepared to respond.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then we have the phrase in the market.
Which is pretty straightforward.
It is. Yeah. It just means in the industry.
Right.
So like if you say English Pod is the best language pod in the market.
It means it's the best among all the other language pods out there
Right.
in that particular industry.
Or like iPods are the most popular MP3 players in the market.
Right.
It just means within the MP3 player industry.
Exactly. So it's a way to specify the context
Yeah.
to make it clear what group of products or services you're talking about.
And then finally, we have a more idiomatic phrase, it'll never fly.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
It's very colorful.
It is, yeah. And it's a great way to say that something is a bad idea.
Yeah. Or that it won't work. Or that people won't accept it.
Exactly. It's like saying this is doomed to fail.
Yeah. And they give some funny examples in the video.
Like trying to sell bikinis in Alaska.
Yeah.
Or an overly expensive marketing plan.
Or a dull film script.
It's just a way to say this is not going to work.
Right.
It's a no-go.
And I think it's interesting how the manager uses this phrase.
Oh, yeah. When he says it'll never fly with Swan,
Yeah.
it suggests that Swan has a very specific set of criteria.
Right.
and that this idea doesn't meet those criteria.
And it also shows how much power Swan has.
Yeah, the manager's clearly afraid of him
Yeah.
and doesn't want to present him with any ideas that he won't like.
So moving on from the vocabulary, the video also has a section called Fluency Builder.
Oh, yeah, I thought this was really helpful.
Yeah, it's all about sounding more natural and professional when you speak English.
Right.
So they take some phrases that you might already know.
And they give you more sophisticated or idiomatic ways to say the same thing.
Yeah.
So, for example, instead of saying, I'll be here soon,
Or I will arrive soon,
they suggest saying he'll be here any minute.
which just sounds more natural.
It does, yeah. It's more conversational.
And it also conveys a sense of immediacy.
Right, like he's just around the corner.
Yeah.
He'll be here any second.
Exactly. And then when you're talking about considering an idea,
Right.
instead of saying we're thinking about a sales strategy,
Or that sounds like something we should think about,
they suggest saying it sounds like something we should consider.
which has a more formal and professional feel.
Yeah, it implies a more deliberate process.
Right, like you're going to weigh the pros and cons
Yeah.
and make a thoughtful decision.
Exactly. And then finally, instead of just saying that's a great idea,
Or great,
they suggest saying that's a brilliant idea.
which is much more enthusiastic.
Yeah, it shows that you're really impressed with the idea.
Right.
And it might have a slightly British feel to it.
It does.
But
yeah.
it's definitely a stronger way to express your approval.
Yep.
So those are just a few examples of how you can sound more fluent and professional when you speak English.
Yeah, I think that section was really valuable.
Me too.
It's those little nuances that can make a big difference.
Yeah, they can make you sound more confident and more credible.
Absolutely.
So to wrap up, I just want to touch on the host's discussion about the manager style.
Okay.
So one of them called him interesting.
Which is a very diplomatic way to put it.
Yeah. And the other one was like, no, he's a bad manager.
Yeah. I'm more inclined to agree with that assessment.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, he's clearly creating a toxic work environment.
Yeah, he's disrespectful to his employees.
He shoots down their ideas.
He takes credit for their work.
Yeah, he's a classic bully.
And it's interesting how they contrast him with a previous general manager they had.
Who was much more positive and encouraging.
Yeah.
He knew everyone's name.
And he made people feel valued.
And as a result, the employees were more motivated and loyal. So it just goes to show that leadership style can have a huge impact on team morale and performance.
Yeah, and we've all probably worked for both good and bad managers in our careers.
We have.
And we know how much of a difference it makes.
Absolutely. A good manager can make you feel inspired and supported.
And a bad manager can make you feel stressed and demoralized.
Exactly. And I think it's important to be able to recognize these different management styles.
Yeah, so that you can navigate those situations more effectively.
And also so that you can learn from both the good and the bad examples.
Right.
So that if you're ever in a leadership position yourself.
You can be the best manager you can be.
Exactly.
So that's our deep dive into this English for Business video.
I enjoyed that.
Me too. It was really insightful.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. We talked about sales strategies.
We analyzed the dynamics of a business meeting.
We learned some useful English vocabulary and phrases.
And we even got a little bit of management training.
Yeah.
Not bad for a short video.
So one final thought for you.
All right.
We saw how the same idea, the 2-for-1 promotion,
Right.
was completely rejected by the manager.
And then embraced by Swan.
Yeah, just because it was coming from a different person.
Right.
So it really makes you think about the power of presentation.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's not about the idea itself.
It's about who's presenting it and how they're framing it.
Exactly. And that's something to keep in mind in your own professional life.
Yeah, because you might have a brilliant idea.
But if you don't present it in the right way,
It might never fly.
sadly, that's true.
So think about how you can frame your ideas.
And how you can build relationships with the people who have the power to make those ideas happen.
That's a great takeaway.
Until next time.
Until next time.
And that wraps up our episode on business. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and learned something useful today.
If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share it with someone who's learning English too.
And remember, practice makes progress. So keep listening, keep speaking, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
We'll be back soon with another great topic. Until then,
Thanks for listening, and keep talking English to us.